What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the Ocular Max Deletus with the FansToys Gehry, both versions of a Masterpiece Scale Scrapper. These came out a little over a year apart. This is from October of 2024. This I just got in January of 2026. So yeah, just over a year and a couple months. And they're both modern versions of a G1 Scrapper. Now, I have done some other comparisons. I know people have been asking, can I do the X Transbots in this? Unfortunately, I don't own that figure. I borrowed it from a friend, Ricky, and I already broke it once. I don't want to break it again. So I asked him not to send it, even though he offered it. I just don't want to put it at risk. Also, somebody asked about Toy World Scrapper as well. I did do a comparison of Toy World with this guy. So I'll link both of those videos, the X Transbots as well as the comparison with the Toy World at the end of this one. So you can watch those comparisons and decide if one of those scrappers is your scrapper of choice. That being said, I am keeping both of these. This is going into robot mode, and this is more than likely going to go into combined mode once we get all the figures. So I'm keeping both of these regardless of the outcome. So let's get started. We'll start off with the accessories. All right, so here's everything they come with. And this isn't really an accessory. It's more of a tool. It's to help you, pull the tires out. So I feel like I shouldn't call this an accessory. It's like getting a screwdriver, with the figure, which we have gotten from X Transbot. So I'm going to count this out. I'm also going to count this as included with this because this is all in one, all built in. Whereas this one is separate parts. It does have parts for fees. It does fit onto the backpack if you want to put it there. It's pretty ugly, but you can't put it there. So again, I'm going to just count these even. It's not really an accessory. It's part of the combined mode parts. So we'll set that aside. And we're left with this. It's a dead tie, but we'll just take a look. We got the trumpet for both. FansToys is done in this die-cast metal chrome. That looks great. The Ocular Max is painted gold. Both come with a gun. Again, FansToys is painted. The Ocular Max is black plastic. Either way, I'm going to call it even on accessories. All right, next we'll talk about the gimmicks on these two. And they both have a gimmick that I'm not going to even count. I just want to mention it so people don't think I forgot about it. Obviously, Ocular Max is all in one. It's got the combined mode parts built in. I consider that part of engineering and not gimmicks. It doesn't really add or give you features in this mode. Same for the FansToys. You can integrate this combined mode part into the backpack. I don't consider that a gimmick. I just consider it, storage. So we're going to discount the combined mode part or pieces. However, the Ocular Max has two things which the FansToys doesn't. One is the little communicator on the arm, which looks great. The other is the vehicle mode has a steering wheel and console in the cockpit, whereas this one's just plain green plastic and doesn't really have anything. Or this one also has a seat where you can put a driver. So I'm going to give gimmicks over to Ocular Max. All right, next we'll talk about the cartoon accuracy on these two. In order to do that, I'll put the G1 image there so you can take a look for yourself. And both of them have kind of the colors and some of the shapes down, but for me, the Ocular Max really nails the cartoon look, especially in this center area in the crotch and the lower legs. And at first, when I saw pictures of the Ocular Max, I was like, it looks a little weird here. But now seeing it next to the cartoon image, wow, it is like dead on, spot on. They really got it. Both of them have the kind of circular shape on the shoulders where the wheels are kind of built into the arm. So they did that right. They both got the nice square shape on the chest with the triangle here, although Ocular Max went with the black outline. I kind of like that. The shape of the hip skirts on the Ocular Max definitely matches the cartoon a little bit better than this. This is a little bit more beefy and chunky overall. But yeah, I think I got to give it to Ocular Max. When it comes to the sculpt, I think I'm also going to give that to Ocular Max. It's much cleaner. They were able to figure out how to get this canopy to hide up away into the backpack. So you end up with this very clean look. And by the way, I have them both configured with the wide shovel just to look more like a cartoon. The stock configuration of this is not the wide shovel, but I just put it that way just so you could see. And even the shovel itself, I think, looks more accurate on the Ocular Max, just the way it's positioned. Legs, both of them are pretty similar. I would say the FansToys is probably a little bit cleaner. But in general, the backpack on the FansToys is not as clean. So I'm going to give both cartoon accuracy and sculpt over to Ocular Max. They really nailed it. Next, we'll talk about the paint on these two. And this one's pretty simple, straightforward. FansToys is pretty much 100% painted other than the hands. The Ocular Max has paint on the face, paint on the chest here, the silver, black, and red. A little bit of paint here on the hip skirts. And a tiny bit of detail here, which you see in vehicle mode. But that's really it. The green, gray, and purple plastic is all plastic, non-painted. I understand why they did it. You know, that's how they make their figures, because the engineering and it's designed not to, you know, scratch up paint. So FansToys is going to win on paint. Next, we'll talk about the build quality in these two. And both of these figures are built really well. The Ocular Max is a solid plastic all throughout. There's no die cast as far as I can tell. But the figure itself, really good quality plastic and just well built in general. FansToys is also really solid figure. It plants pretty well because it's got a lot of die cast down low. You don't necessarily need the die cast to feel like a good quality figure. But yeah, both of them are pretty good in terms of their build quality. So I'm going to give them a tie. Next, we'll take a look at the articulation and we'll articulate each one individually so you can see how they work. For the Ocular Max, head is on a rotating swivel. It goes back to there, down to there, rotates around. Shoulders are on a hinge, rotates around, out to the side, up to there. You have a rotation here at the bicep, double jointed elbow, full bend. You have a rotation at the wrist. You have the bottom three fingers are connected, but the top finger is individually articulated at 3 pins. Can't get a pointing pose, and then the thumb is on a ball joint in the pin. So you can get that posed as well. Coming down to the waist, you have a waist rotation on a ratchet. Ab crunch gets you down to there. For hips, you have hip skirts on the front and back. Legs will kick up to there on a ratchet. Back to there on a ratchet. Out to the side on a ratchet, which is not typical. Usually the outward movement doesn't have it. Rotation at the thigh at a cut joint. Double jointed knee gets you full bend. It works a little better if you bend the top one first. I guess it doesn't matter, but you do get the full bend out of that. Ankle tilts all the way out to there. Back to there. Toe tilt down. And coming over to FansToys, head is on a rotating swivel, gets up to there, down to there, rotates around. Shoulder on a hinge, up to the side, up to there. Rotation at the bicep. You have a single joint elbow. It doesn't get you quite the full bend. It's pretty more than 90, but it doesn't get you the full bend. So it's going to lose that point on the elbow. You do have individually articulated fingers on this one. The bottom three are individual. The thumb is also on a ball joint and a hinge. The pointer fingers are the same in terms of the amount of articulation, but the bottom three fingers do have additional articulation. So I do have to give it one extra point here on the hand for the FansToys compared to the Ocular Max. Going to the waist, you have a waist rotation barely. It gets locked up due to the design. You really just can't get it. There is what some people would call an ab crunch. It's really the combiner joint. So I'm not going to count that. It doesn't really work well here for this purpose. But you can bend it here on this joint. I don't know. I guess I count it. I guess that's an ab crunch. So we'll give it to them. But it gets one click down, one click back. This is very tight. But the waist joint is almost non-existent, and there's really no workaround for that. So I'm gonna give Ocular Max the point on the waist rotation. For the legs, hip skirt moves out of the way, leg kick up to there, back to there, hindered by its own sculpt. It doesn't really go back. Out to the side on friction, again hindered by the sculpt. Rotation of the thigh to universal. You have a single jointed knee with a cover down knee piece that pops out. So technically, I guess there's two joints, but you don't get the articulation. It's really, this is the joint that's bending, is right here. So I like the idea that they did with the knee piece covering down, but yeah, it just doesn't quite work. You have ankle tilt here. It's actually a toe tilt to the side, and you get a forward tilt on that as well. It is on a hinge, so you can just rotate the whole toe down just like the Ocular Max. So because of the double jointed elbows as well as the waist rotation, which I kind of disqualified this one, not having one, we're going to give articulation over to Ocular Max. The only thing that they didn't have over this was the fully articulated fingers. Next, we'll talk about the transformation engineering. When it comes to transformation, both of these are actually pretty straightforward, simple, fun to do. They don't take a lot of time either. But engineering, I've got to give it to Ocular Max. This thing is just beautifully engineered. The way it comes together in alt mode, the way it comes together in the all-in-one combined mode, it's really smart. This thing, it does require an extra piece for the combined mode. I don't think that's the smartest engineering. If you're gonna have parts forming, just have parts forming, right? You don't need to try to half integrate it in. So I'm gonna give the engineering over to Ocular Max, which is not a surprise. They always have great engineering. All right, there they are in their alt modes, and what a massive difference they have in this mode. The FansToys, they did go for a more tuned look, but it just ended up looking very weird. There's lots of breakup and bits that, they're not in the cartoon or in the toy. They're just odd. And there's really no cockpit. There's just kind of a hole in the middle. It does have rubber tires with chrome wheels, but it's very plain. It's just a big green block. The Ocular Max has all sorts of nice, fun details going on. You got headlights up here, steering wheel, little dashboard there, silver here for some fake pistons, and here as well. Little ladder painted in, some intake grill there, lights painted on. It does have a little bit of nakedness here on the back, but it's on the back. You're not really going to see it. Silver on the wheels. It just, and then you got the smokestacks back here. It just looks really good. You do have articulation. They both have it. Upper joint here and then a lower joint on the shovel. The FansToys is friction, but it still has those two joints. Actually, there's one here and here, so you can still modify the shovel, but the proportion of it, it's just a very long handle, so it does look a little awkward. But yeah, I mean, this is, for me, there's no contest. Oh, by the way, they both still can store the weapons. The Ocular Max can store right there, and the FansToys can store right here. There's a little slot on the gun. So they do both have storage. And as far as that gimmick, I think I gave gimmicks to the Ocular Max just because of all the details and stuff going on. So I'm going to give alt mode to Ocular Max. They nailed it. I mean, they got the cartoon look, but they still gave it the more realistic looking vehicle. Next, we'll talk about the cost on these two figures. And as always, I get the prices from ages 3 and up because they don't seem to monkey with or change the prices after the fact. And I just wanted to mention, I noticed the last few times I've been off by just a couple dollars. And apparently there's some weird thing with conversion from Canadian to US. When I look it up on my phone, it's slightly different than when I look it up on my computer. And my computer is where I get the screenshots for the prices. So that's, If you're wondering why it's always off a little bit, that's the reason. But the FansToys was $210 back when it was available in 2024. Today's money in 2026, that converts to $215. The Ocular Max comes in at $133 US. So we're going to give price over Ocular Max. No surprise there. FansToys usually loses on cost. And the final factor in this comparison is the Members' Choice category, where I asked my members which one they prefer personally without any other factors such as cost or build. And FansToys is going to win this one. I'm not surprised. I think the paint definitely helps this figure stand out on the shelf or even in pictures. I do have to say this figure in person looks a lot better than it does in pictures. I just really like the look of it. But I totally get it. Members' Choice is going to go to FansToys. So final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score here. And to my surprise, Ocular Max is going to dominate in this comparison. And I really thought it was going to be close or even a tie. But it does surprise me. My feelings about these two is the FansToys looks beautiful. It's got really nice paint. But it's just very bulky. He doesn't look like the Scrapper I know from the cartoon. He does look mean, and he does look like a brawler. He just doesn't look like the Scrapper, just because of the proportions, the overall chunkiness. That also causes him to be less articulated. Now, the Ocular Max doesn't have that beautiful paint, and it doesn't have that, FansToys shine to it, but it is engineered beautifully. It articulates beautifully. It's got all these little features built into it that are just fun. And yeah, so, they're just very different figures. This one is kind of a beautiful display piece, and this is a beautiful play piece. So really bringing different values. Now, me personally, like I said, I'm planning to keep both of these. But I'm just very surprised at how on paper the Ocular Max really kills the FansToys, at least in my comparison. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. My apologies for not being able to include the X Transbots, but at the end of this video, I'll have a link to the comparison with the FansToys so you can get an idea of how that figure is. That is a beautiful figure too, by the way. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
TM Reviews. What's up, YouTube fans?